and when it was demolished to make way for the current quay development, she was heartbroken. Quite rightly so. It was as if we had lost a member of the family, she said. The chalet, which overlooked Shelley Beach, had a special place in our hearts and provided us with a wonderful childhood holidays and memories all through our lives. Jean, a charismatic 73-year-old who now lives in Holston Avenue, said many of the Shelley families were friends as they had met year after year on summer vacations, and she organised a farewell party for 60 of them when the bulldozers finally came. Jean told journal reporter Markia Sands at the time, "I wanted something for my children would remember for years. We had a bonfire on the beach and played Finlandia, and it was like a wake, with all the children throwing flowers into the sea. The students of Roll College interviewed all of us and made a play about Shelley, which captured the sadness of it all. At the end, they all laid on the floor like tombstones. The family owned number 45, which was on the site used in recent years for Spinnaker's sailing school, and Jean often returned to the spot to gaze out to the estuary and remember. The chalets were all dotted around the dock basin and stretched to the edge of the beach. The local historian Bill Sleeman, who runs a gentleman's outfitters on Exeter Road, said fishermen's huts were originally on the site, and the arrival of the Exmouth to Exeter railways in 1861 had created interest in developing the docks area. Exeter people were able to come down to Exmouth and see how beautiful it was, and the town became a desirable place to have property, said Bill. They could see that the huts used by fishermen to store their gear around Shelley Beach had lovely outlooks, and snapped them up to build seaside bungalows. The properties were all privately owned on the land rented from the docks company. He said he had been inside many of them, which were little places, although in final years after the lease expired some were unoccupied and became dilapidated. Most of the chalets had wooden walls with iron or asbestos roofs, although there were a few corrugated steel Nissan huts. The two 120-year-old railway carriages were found in one property during demolition, and an old barge, beached in the 1930s, was also used as a home. The owner had a church organ in it and had built a swimming pool outside. Jean Harris's father, Harold Guppy, was an Exeter builder who bought the original chalet in 1934, the year she was born. He demolished it and built a chalet with 3 bedrooms in its place, although he later moved the front door because it faced the sea and the family couldn't get out when the storms came. Jean said there was no heating and dampness was sometimes a problem, but if we needed warmth we lit a fire with the wood from the beach. In the early years, Jean, her sister Rosemary and brother David would come down from Exeter with their parents at Easter and wouldn't return until the autumn. We would play through the summer with the parents getting together to stage family games, fancy dress parades and races on the beach. Later, when Jean moved away to the Midlands, she was still a regular visitor with her family. Another ex-resident with happy memories of chalet life is Pam Phillips, who now lives in the Shelley Reach development on the docks, now called the Quay, and still has a view of the docks basin. Her love affair with the area began in 1969 when she came to Royal College for a year's teacher training, and she and two other students moved into Chalet 89, which was alongside Bellshire's slipway. I was mad about boats and we loved to go to the beach pub and mix with locals, said Pam. It was then that I met my husband, Jack Gibbon, a keen fisherman, and once we got together, it was the end of my teaching aspirations. Her husband was known as Iron Jack, because he was a welder and had long preached that boats should be built of steel and not wood. They moved into Chalet 3, which had a beautiful view of the estuary and was next to the old ex-sailing club premises. It was Pam's permanent address for 28 years, but for 16 years she and Jack spent winters in Portugal and Spain. There was a great spirit among the chalet people, and nobody locked their doors, says Pam. It was not just somewhere to live, but a way of life. We were fishing people and had an iron ladder down to the beach for our tender moored nearby, which we used for sand eeling and gathering whitebait. The lease of the 125 chalets expired in the 1980s and were not renewed. However, in the early 1970s, the Old Devon Dock and Steamship Company were short of cash and had offered the owners of 4 brick-built chalets at the docks entrance the chance to buy leases. We were one of the owners involved, together with number 5, 7 and 9, said Pam. We were offered the freeholds for £9,000 each when the bungalows were changing hands for around 4. We had all agreed to buy for the deal to go through, but one of our neighbours said no, and the deal was scut. As things turned out, if the owners had bought the land, they would have been sitting on a gold mine. Before the days of the Exmouth Christmas Day swim, games of water polo in the docks was popular. Showing Exmouth Pier, a real sight of days gone by. The brick-built chalets at the front of the docks entrance. The old sailing club sadly falls as the mouth of the docks crumbles. It was later moved to Shelley Road itself, now Spinnaker's apartment blocks.